waking up, falling asleep.
Welcome to the people of Portland and beyond, episode 17. Today with me I have, from Instagram, I met her, Mama Tomma is her handle, and she goes by Tomma. Tomma?
Tomma. It's a soft O.
Okay. So yeah, how long have you been a tattoo artist in Portland, and when did you start?
I have been a licensed tattooer in Portland for 11 years. For the 10 years previous to that, I worked in tattoo shops doing counter stuff, managing studios, that kind of stuff.
What do you mean by counter stuff?
Like the front person, that answers the phone and makes stencils and cleans the shop. That was my job for a long time.
Growing up, did you take art classes or were you self-taught?
I don't actually ever remember taking art classes until I was in college, but I was always encouraged to make art. I was always encouraged to use art as a hobby. It was never really encouraged as a career.
That's good. It's less creative if it's not a hobby, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first tattoo that you inked?
The first tattoo I ever did, I tattooed an anchor on myself, on my leg, at the very beginning of my apprenticeship.
And on someone else?
No, I did it on myself.
What was the first tattoo on somebody else?
The first tattoo I did on somebody else was on my friend Jesse Traver, who we are still friends with to this day. I did a small flower on his ankle. He actually showed up during my apprenticeship, probably twice a month, sometimes once a week, and would get small tattoos to help me get through my procedures towards getting licensed.
And what about the first tattoo you got paid to do?
Oh, man, I don't remember. That was so long ago. It was probably one of the procedures during my apprenticeship, because if you were really lucky and you were there working and something small came in, they would give the customer the option to get tattooed by you.
And how many tattoos would you estimate you've done on your whole career?
Oh. Well, it probably fluctuates. The first couple years were really slow. I started tattooing at the beginning of the recession, and in the beginning of your tattoo career, you're not always really lucky enough to be booked out quickly. That's not something that generally happens. So the first couple years were really slow, but the past couple years I probably do 200 to 400 tattoos a year, and I've been doing this 10 years, so a lot.
Yeah. What kind of coil machine do you like to use? The X2?
I have probably 9 different coil machines. My favorite machine that I use is a Sets to Fury. I use that one for lining. But I've mainly switched over to rotaries for coloring. And lots of times I actually use a pen style machine, especially when I'm traveling, because it's far more convenient and all the stuff that goes with it is so much smaller.
What's the advantage to doing the rotary?
The rotary is just a different type of machine. You get, it's easier to do large fields of faded color. It's not as hard on your hands because the vibration, they're generally not as heavy and they don't vibrate as much as the coil machines. And I just like the consistency of the rotaries. They tend to be a little less, you have to tweak them a little less than the coil machines.
Mm. What kind of ink do you like to use? Like organic, or like how do they differ?
There are several industry-known providers that have been around for a long time and proven that their products are consistent and quality. And I actually try new things all the time, so there isn't one particular brand that sticks out. I just tend to go with either providers that I can find some history on and know that they're using quality products in it, or referred to me by another tattooer.
Would you refuse to do a tattoo if it was ridiculous? Have you?
Yes, I have definitely refused to do some ridiculous tattoos.
What were some of those tattoos?
A lot of them, again, tattooing 11 years, it's hard to pull back specific instances, but a lot of the things that I have been like, I don't want to do that is kids that are younger, 18, 19, 20, trying to get something like their boyfriend's name tattooed on their neck or someplace super visible, just being like, that's not a great idea. Trying to help them make those decisions. But, anything that's racist or not nice, I'm not really into putting that out into the world, so I'll refuse those things. If it's just funny, that's between them and their tattoo. If they want a funny tattoo, we'll definitely do that.
Does collaborative tattoo work exist?
Yeah. A lot of the artists that work in the studio with me, we will spend lots of our time there working on our art for our clients and for ourselves, and we're constantly going back and forth with the other artists that work there. Like, I don't think this is sitting right. What do you think? Could you look this over and give me some feedback? And it's a really organic way to build things, especially when you're building on like almost a production line schedule with booked clients. You know, you have to keep being creative. So sometimes it's a really collaborative process to go through and be like, I am struggling with this, help me. And we have a really great crew at Anatomy that's super, super collaborative in their efforts to like just make sure everybody's doing the best they can.
Has anyone ever been worked on by multiple tattoo artists at once, or would it be too painful?
I've seen a couple people get tattooed by more than one tattooer. A friend of mine, Joshua David, got tattooed by like 3 people at a convention in San Francisco one time. They all worked at a shop. They all kind of did the same style.
No painkillers?
I don't remember. It was a long time ago, but I've definitely seen people get tattooed more than one at a time. It's just not that common. It's kind of a pain in the ass working with somebody in a small space like that. You know, you have to stretch the skin, and going back and forth between 2 people, it kind of, you know, you literally like run into each other if it's not a very large space. So it's not super convenient.
What do you like to do when you don't tattoo?
I like to spend time with my family and my dogs. I like to paint and draw. I like to hike, and I like to work out.
What are some things you like to paint? Outdoor scenes or people?
No, generally when I'm painting very much in my trade. You know, I'm doing things that I can either sell for prints or make stickers out of or sell as tattoo designs. I should make more art that's not connected to something, but it's I like to be productive.
Me
and
too.
So that's why I'm, you know, when I'm doing it, I'm kind of always thinking about it and that step of the way. What can I be doing with this later?
But is your favorite form of art tattoo?
No, when I'm looking at art, I definitely tend to. I like really old paintings. I love the Renaissance. I like a lot of this stuff from Russia. I have a very big look at art. I wouldn't say that tattooing is my favorite. It's just the one that I'm most involved in.
Have you seen art in other countries, traveled to other
I
countries?
have never been to another country other than Mexico. It is on my bucket list this year to get overseas, though. I turned 40 this
Nice.
year. My son graduates from high school. It's a big year for all of us, and so I'm hoping near the end of the summer or the fall I can get us off continent.
Yeah, that's a good goal. I mean, I had that goal last year, and I really did it up because I went for 3 weeks to the Philippines. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I don't care where I go at this point,
Exactly.
just as long as I get to go
Yeah,
somewhere.
you need to experience some place that's the complete opposite of where you are now.
Exactly. But when I'm traveling within the United States, I try and see museums or art galleries when we're on the road. We were in New Orleans not too long ago, and they had amazing galleries to walk through, tons of art there. We actually found this amazing artist that paints with thread. It's all embroidery, and it was one of the most stunning things I'd ever seen in my life. She was phenomenal. I wish I had her card with me.
Yeah. What is the favorite tattoo you have on your body?
Probably my back piece. It's a full, it goes from my neck to the bottom of my butt, and it is a big woman with a bird cage, and it's just really stunning. I really like it.
Who did that?
Olivia Britt Sweet. She is a local tattooer. She works at Scapegoat Tattoo.
Would you ever tattoo yourself? Can that be done?
I have tattooed myself before, but I don't really care for it. I would either concentrate on getting tattooed or giving a tattoo, but trying to do both of them at the same time is not my favorite thing.
Yeah. It's a great analogy.
Yeah.
How many tattoos do you have?
At this point, I probably have one really big one that's just not finished. My back is done. Both of my arms are done. There's a bunch on my torso. My legs are probably have the most open area, but I have plans for them. So almost all of it's spoken for at this point.
Would you do a genital tattoo, or is that like a specialized industry?
I just don't think I want to get tattooed there.
You wouldn't want, but would you ever do it on someone else?
I think it would depend on the situation and the client. It really, being that intimate with another person is something that you have to set boundaries on. And so you would have a consultation and figure out kind of where that client's coming from. And if you were comfortable in that situation, I don't see why not.
Have you seen grown men cry?
Yes.
I could drink to that.
I work in a tattoo shop. I've seen several grown men cry.
What has been your favorite career moment so far?
This last year has been pretty fantastic. I bought the shop and we've been remodeling and just really moving the business forward in a super positive way, especially in this space, making it new. And that's been really great and really fulfilling as a career. But probably my favorite moment would be a couple years ago, right after the election. We did a huge fundraiser for the ACLU. 400 people showed up. We tattooed for 13 or 14 hours, and we ended up making appointments for people so they could come back for the rest of the month so we could keep raising money. And we ended up raising like $14,000, and it was one of the coolest things I'd ever done.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it was really fulfilling to like work with those people. Everybody that came in that day to get tattooed was kind and generous, and just it felt like everybody was on the same team. Everybody was really sad because of the election, but they were all trying to like pull together and find some positivity, and I really enjoyed that. And now we do fundraisers every year.
Nice.
Because of that. We pick a charity that we feel could use some of our love and generosity, and then we spend time and money, advertising, pulling people in, and making some money that we can give to an organization, because it feels really good in the end. And I feel like onward and upward.
Yeah, giving back feels great.
It does.
Do you do tattoo removal, or would you rather do a cover-up?
So that, again, depends on the situation and the client. If the tattoo is really, really dark and really, really large, I might recommend that you go and get 1, possibly 2 laser sessions.
Yeah.
It makes what you can get over the top of it. It just opens more possibilities. You can cover up almost anything with enough time and pigment, but you're kind of locked into certain standards when you have something underneath that you're trying to cover up. So it's just an option. If somebody comes in and I think it's manageable without laser, we'll move forward without laser.
What's your favorite part of being a tattoo artist?
Probably getting to make art every day. You're really in control of your own schedule. And I've been traveling a lot because of tattooing. I've met so many amazing people all over the country, and it's just a really fun environment to work in. Doing tattooing is giving somebody to something forever for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's just a really interesting, vibrant community. I have never, in my almost 40 years on the planet, met a more dynamic or interesting community than the people you meet in tattoo shops and in the community in general.
It seems to me that if you're a tattoo artist, you have more chance of making money as an artist. Is that true?
Well, it's hard because tattooers are very much like craftsmen. We go to work every day. We work with our hands. We are able to work as much as there are people to get tattooed. It's one of those industries, though, where, we're all independent contractors. We're all self-employed, which means we don't get health benefits, and we don't get paid vacations, and we don't get, time off. Those things all come out of our pocket. So, yes, you stand to make great money if you hustle and you work hard and you do consistent, clean tattoos. You can definitely make great money, but it's a lot of hard work. You can't earn any money unless you're sitting in that chair, and you really got to hustle. So, but I am a very productive person. Like I said, I like to be active, so it fits my needs,
Do you think that taxes are too high for small business owners?
I definitely think that taxes are a struggle. And I know that being a small business owner, this is not the first business I've owned, it is a struggle to get there. But I have found over time that proper planning gets you pretty far.
Yeah.
If you're prepared and you know what's coming and you know how to save, then you can make anything happen. I haven't done my taxes yet this year with the new tax code, so I might have a completely different opinion in 2 weeks. But
Have you had to pay the TriMet tax?
Yes, we've owned our own home here for 15 years, and I had to pay the TriMet tax last year, I think, because it
Yeah.
was the first year I owned the business.
Do you agree with that tax?
Well, I have a lot of friends that ride the bus, and
Yeah.
it wasn't that big of a struggle for my business to pay it.
Yeah.
So it didn't bother me.
Okay. I think I have to pay it, and it sucks because no one ever even comes here.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, we have customers that ride the bus. We have a bus line right in front of the studio. Like, it's 2 or 3 of the people that work in anatomy
Yeah.
choose to use public transportation instead of driving. And so I feel like, we should all be driving a little less.
Yeah. My other business is a seed business called West Seed Farm, and it's just mostly shipping out internationally, nationally. So,
But
I'm
you still have to pay the tax.
because I'm in the TriMet area. Exactly.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So you work like a normal 40-hour week? Do you make your own
Yeah.
vacation time?
I mean, sure. It's roughly 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of... Sometimes it's really hard to shut your job off when you do something like tattooing. It's really hard to disengage from social media and your email account and your schedule and how much time we have to draw outside of being at work. Like carving out that time to be creative, to create new stuff. And some days they're slow at the shop, and so you get to do those things, and other times you tattoo for 40 hours a week and have to make up all of that extra time on top of it. So it kind of varies.
Would you ever go on a tour?
You mean like tour from city to city tattooing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that before. I did a series of guest spots like 3 years ago. I went all the way to the East Coast and then back across the Midwest. Like I said, I travel quite frequently. Right now, I've been doing a ton of conventions. So just got back from Philadelphia. I leave for Chicago in a week and a half. After that, I think we have Baltimore and then Milwaukee before the year's out. And I've been looking into one that's in Idaho because it would be nice to drive instead of flying to all of them. Flying is expensive.
Yeah. What was the last convention that you were at?
Philadelphia, the Villain Arts Philadelphia convention. It's one of the largest tattoo conventions in the world. There's over 1,000 booths and at least 800 of them they're just tattooing in. It was my 3rd year doing it.
Yeah.
And every year I've had a really good time and I've made a lot of money. I was able to really hustle and get a lot of tattooing done, so I enjoy it.
Is it just tattoos? Do they do body painting or anything else?
Oh, they do all kinds of stuff, especially the Villain Arts conventions. They're really focused on getting as many people in as possible, so they have a whole series of sideshows that go on all day long, and they have body piercers on the floor. They also had somebody there selling retrofit bathtubs this year. I literally think that the company probably has a deal with the convention center where every convention over so many people, they just get booths at. So there was one dude trying to sell retrofit bathtubs and one dude trying to sell cupboards, and there was also a truck that was selling root beer and 3 or 4 different booths that had oddities and t-shirts and novelties. And I mean, they're huge. So there's all kinds of people there.
Mm. Do you think that the MAC should just have a turnstile system instead of employing hundreds of officers to randomly check people all day?
Yeah, that would probably make a lot more sense.
I agree. I just think of that because you said you were in the East Coast. I don't know. You've been on the New York City subway.
Oh, several times.
It's just so simple the way it works. Mm-hmm. You go through the turnstile. No one ever harasses you. And you're done.
It makes a ton of sense, but it would probably cost a ton of money to put turnstiles in at all the MAC stops.
They clearly weren't. Maybe they did think of it and they were just like, it's just not efficient. It's just not going to work because it's overground instead of underground. Do you see the tattoo industry being automated one day?
I don't know if you will fully be able to automate the tattoo industry. I know that in the past several years, like literally the past 5, there has been a change in the industry. More artists are using digital media to create their tattoos. The iPad Pro came out and it has a program on it called Procreate that I swear was made for tattooers. It's just like drawing on paper. It has the same feel. There's all these different brushes and it just makes everything easier because it's digital. You're not wasting a ton of paper and you don't have files everywhere, and it's just kind of easier to put it all together. It also functions as a light board, a copy machine. It sizes things. It's really convenient. I've also noticed a huge shift in the industry over the past couple years going to these conventions. That the first convention I went to in Philadelphia 3 years ago was really loud from all the coils, but so many people are switching to the rotaries that the last couple conventions we've got to have gotten quieter and quieter and quieter, which is really weird because I've been going to tattoo conventions since I was 18, and that is always like you walk in and that noise, it's so loud, the buzz of the machines, and it's interesting that it's, slowly fading. It'll never go away completely, I don't think. There's too much magic and pyrotry in the tattoo industry for that stuff to go completely away.
Yeah. Do you think people in the tattoo industry are generally friendly people, social people?
I think after spending a lot of years in it that yes, the majority of the people that I have met in the tattoo industry are friendly and pretty social. Most of us are touch awkward from what I've found. And it's probably stems from the fact that, our day-to-day is based on people choosing our art. We're literally putting ourselves out there and being like, if you like this enough, you can get a tattoo from me. And that's how we base how we survive, how we eat, how we pay our bills. Yeah. And sometimes that can be really frustrating. Sometimes it can take a lot out of you. But then again, when it works out, it's such a rewarding career that I definitely think it's worth the trade-off.
At what age did you decide that you definitely wanted to do this?
Well, I started working in a tattoo shop when I was about 19. Okay. And I immediately I loved the shop. I loved being there. I loved the people that were there. It really felt like a family and a home. It felt like one of the first environments I'd ever been in that was so much less judgmental than all the places that I'd been before in my life. Yeah. And so I think I was really afraid in the beginning that I wouldn't be good enough. And so I didn't pursue tattooing for much longer than I should have. I should have started earlier. Yeah. But I think I was about 25 when I was finally like, this is it. This is what I want to do. I need to find somebody that'll teach me. I want to be part of this. This is where I want to go.
Where were you before that you think that they knocked your confidence down or whatever? I grew up in a really small town in Arizona, and I never really fit in there. Mm-hmm. And then I went to a couple different colleges and just didn't really care for the academic environment. I couldn't decide on a major. I really just struggled through those first couple years. And then I started working in shops. And the first 5 years I was in shops, I was still trying to pursue some type of outside career source. I ended up getting a degree in graphic design from Mount Hood Community College because I wasn't finding an apprenticeship and I had a kid. So I needed some form of income. Yeah. But it was right about the time that I graduated that I got offered an apprenticeship. So it worked out for me. Nice. What kind of music do you like to have on in the background when doing tattoo work?
That it spans all kinds of stuff. We have a really eclectic group of people at the shop. So it's everything from metal and folk to we have Smooth Sailing Sundays where it's all like 70s smooth rock. Yeah, we listen to a ton of indie music. I mean, it literally changes from day to day. I'm a huge fan of older music. I love Miles Davis and Nina Simone and stuff like that. So I make a lot of playlists that are heavy into that to play at the shop because I really enjoy tattooing to that kind of stuff. But we try to keep it kind of eclectic and mild so that people are comfortable when they're in there.
You like eclectic? Oh, send you some of my stuff. We were discussing on Instagram that you're a fan of sidepipe.
Yes.
And I was wondering, how do you know the girl from Sidepipe that does it?
Funny story. Lucky and I were in New Orleans for a convention, and we were sitting around our Airbnb the first night just kind of decompressing from traveling, and he started laughing. And I was like, what is so funny? And he showed me the Instagram, and he was like, this is my client that has such and such tattoo. And I just thought it was hysterical, especially all the vintage 70s era photos. Mm-hmm. I love stuff from the 70s. We collect a lot of like Yames era furniture. Like I'm drawn to the whole aesthetic of it. So the fact that it was really heavy on that aesthetic and then also hysterical, I found myself sending her like unsolicited dick pics like 20 minutes later. And I was like, who am I? Why am I doing this? But I can't help myself. It's too funny. And then the next time she came to the the shop, we just laughed about it forever.
Yeah.
And then I turned several of my clients onto it too. So now we're constantly communicating on Instagram and sending back and forth photos. She's actually really good at figuring out when they've been photoshopped. She sent me a whole list of like all of these had been shopped and like showing me how they've been photoshopped.
Where do you find these photos?
I have no idea where she finds these photos.
No, none of them are taken like live shots or just like on the internet somewhere?
I don't think so. I think she does most of her searching through like vintage stuff. And now because she's gotten a couple more followers and a couple people have like reposted her stuff, people send them to her all the time. So she's getting material and then she just makes sure it's not fake. And then I think she jumps down some rabbit holes looking for things sometimes.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out how sidepipe happens. I could see it in Portland if you're wearing tight jeans. Back then, I think they wore like
Everybody wore super tight clothes.
leisure suits and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like, we can see your junk. All of it. Great job, guys.
Do you think some of the guys were fluffing and basically setting up a sidepipe shot, or was it just random sometimes?
I've never thought about it that hard before. Some of them definitely look staged, and some of them just look super uncomfortable. Like, how can you wear those pants?
Right, exactly. It's like you're wearing the pants just because you want to show your male cleavage off, is what I'm thinking sometimes.
Yeah.
Are you truly naked if you have ink on your body? Do you believe that?
I don't know.
Because you are covered up.
You are covered up. I definitely feel more confident in myself as, like, my body as a whole, the more I'm tattooed.
Like, the more ink you have on, the more naked you feel being comfortable?
Maybe. I don't know. I know that after I got my back piece done, it definitely changed, like, my self-confidence. I was like, look at this. This is awesome.
Nice.
You know, and started buying a bunch of shirts that had no backs in them. Like, everybody should see this. It's amazing. Cool. And it was just like, this is part of me now. And, you know, that part I like.
So people with body image issues maybe get a tattoo and could help you?
We do talk to a lot of people in the tattoo industry that suffer through body issues. I think growing up in this day and age, that's just something that most of us are stuck with.
Yeah, that's true,
You know?
especially the Instagram era.
Especially in the Instagram era. I take a lot of effort with my kids to constantly be talking about body positivity and loving the skin you're in and not degrading myself or talking, you know, like not letting the bad feelings I have come out so that they have a better holistic view of body image as they grow up.
Yeah.
I'm trying anyway. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with Instagram.
Would you ever do the World Naked Bike Ride?
I've been invited a couple times, but I just don't ride a bike enough. I think it's great and super hysterical, and I know a ton of people that do it, but I just have it's never caught my eye, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Today is March 6th, and it's snowing out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it. Has it ever snowed this much in Portland?
You know, there was that one year where we had that terrible snowstorm where everybody was snowed into their house for like a week. I think it was 2008.
Okay.
That's when I remember it snowing a lot. We missed one of the snowstorms over Christmas because we were traveling.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't seen it snow and then go away and then snow and then go away.
Yeah.
I wish it would just get it over with and move along.
So on your Instagram, you said that New Orleans was a magical place.
It was. I had never been to New Orleans before, and I really, really liked it. The convention was a little slower, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do it again this year, which is kind of a bummer. But it was the first year they did a convention in New Orleans, and sometimes it takes them a year or two to really work the kinks out and for the conventions to get busy. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go back there this year, but New Orleans was amazing. I went with Lucky, as I said, and I also went with his lovely wife, Sarah. And we stayed an extra day. And on that extra day, we totally wandered around and hit up a bunch of cemeteries and ate beignets and went shopping. And like I said, wandered through a bunch of really amazing galleries. And New Orleans just has a certain spirit to it that I haven't experienced anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, it wasn't a Fat Tuesday though, right?
No, it was not.
Have you ever met any famous tattoo artists? Maybe Kat Von D or...
Well, I meet a lot of the people that have been on Ink Master on the road. A lot of them tour with the same convention. So I've met a whole group of them. But super famous tattooers, Met Philadelphia Eddie a couple times. I've met Lyle Tuttle quite a few times. But famous on TV, famous? Not so much.
Would you say that most of the time your clients are coming to you with a tattoo idea, or do they ever say, what do you have for me?
Lots of people, that's on my Instagram, you'll notice there's tons of designs that are available.
Yeah.
And that kind of has a tendency to draw the kind of stuff that I like to do to me. So lots of times when people come in, even if they haven't picked a design, you'll notice a lot of it is very similar subject matter. I do a lot of botanical stuff, a lot of animals, a lot of rocks. We're super nerdy at my shop, just straight up nerds. So we do a lot of that stuff too. We work Comic-Con every year, which is probably one of my favorite conventions. I really enjoy that convention. It's nice because it's not a tattoo convention. People actually half the time don't even realize that there's going to be tattooers there, and it's just a different,
Yeah.
it's a different group of people, and they're also happy to be there, and they're also happy that we just get to nerd out. I went dressed as Princess Leia the second day, and it was totally like my little innocent kid dreams come true, walking around being called princess and general all day by everybody, and it was a really fun time. It was just so dorky and so great.
Could see you as Princess Leia.
Yeah, Princess Leia from Hoth. I had to pick one of her outfits I could tattoo in all day.
So you're doing tattoos at the convention, and I'm wondering, is there any laws, copyright against IPs that you can't tattoo on your body or someone else's?
I know that there is some different rulings and that they oftentimes go state to state, varied, but these images have been being reproduced as tattoos for so long. It's not really something that they can jump into. If anybody was going to sue you, it would probably be the likes of Disney, and they don't seem to care. So I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah, I guess the worst they could do is sue you because they can't make you take it off your body.
Exactly. I think they realize that it falls under a special heading, I guess, And so often you're taking their idea and drawing it differently, so you're not reproducing something that's direct.
Yeah. Do you read any comics?
I just started reading The Umbrella Academy because it came out on TV, and I watched it, and I thought it was interesting. I read a bunch of the Hellboy comics. My kids really like graphic novels, so anytime they bring something home, I try to read it before they do or after they do. I read all the Watchmen. I really enjoyed that series. But I didn't grow up with comics per se, other than Archie. I used to buy Archie comics in the store when I was a small kid, but
I used to read those too.
Yeah, we didn't have a comic book store in town, so it wasn't something that I readily had access to.
Those were at the drugstores and the convenience stores. The Archies are just so general, yeah.
Yep, they were always, that's where I got them, at the grocery store with my mom when we would go on Friday. If we were good, we got a comic book.
Did you read Tank Girl as well?
When I was in college, somebody gave me Tank Girl, which I really appreciated.
You kind of look like her. Are you into cars? Or is your husband into
that's
cars?
my husband's car.
So he's a race car driver?
That's what he thinks he is. I tease him about that car a lot. He drove the same car from when he graduated high school.
The Ford Focus?
No, he literally had the same car for almost 20 years, and then bought a used car, and then was like, I'm going to buy a brand new car. And I was like, okay. And then he brought that home, and I was like, what?
Okay. Did you think the Watchmen movie was as good as the comics?
No, but generally movies aren't as good as the books.
That one was pretty accurate, though,
It was
right?
pretty great. They did a great job. I forget what it was. They took the subtext of the island plot, and they did some weird stuff near the end that I was like, why was that for, though? But I did enjoy that movie. We actually just watched it the other day.
Nice.
It still holds strong.
The censored or uncensored version?
Uncensored. I believe it was on HBO.
Lord of the Rings, you into that?
Yeah, I have watched all of those movies. I have not watched all of the Hobbit movies because I saw the first one and was like, I don't really need any more of that. But
See, I had thought that, and at the time when I was with my ex, her brother convinced me, because I felt the same way about the first movie. I was like, it's not going to be, the other ones aren't going to be good, but the second and third ones are actually much better.
Oh, that's good to know. I've seen all the episodes. I found some of them to be truly twisted and really haunting, but not all of them were great. I really enjoyed the one with the redhead in it where it's all about social media. That really changed my perspective of how much I was looking at my phone. It's all about how many likes she gets. She's like going to a friend's wedding.
Yeah.
The one where the one that still to this day scares me is the post-apocalyptic one where they're running from the robot dogs.
Oh, that one's crazy.
That one made me so uncomfortable. The one with John Hamm, the Christmas special, that one was really good as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watch a lot of TV because I generally put it in the background while I draw.
Yeah.
But several people have suggested that I try some podcasts. I actually have a whole list of podcasts that I'm supposed to start trying to listen to instead of watching TV while I draw.
You find yourself doing mostly animal, plant, or insect tattoos, things revolving around nature?
I get asked for it a lot. It is definitely something that is now in my wheelhouse. I get asked for a lot of witchy tattoos too.
Do you think that maybe because of the region we're in, you're getting asked to do that, and in other areas you'll get, like, tattoos will vary by region, basically?
Tattoos vary by region. That is very true. When I first started traveling, one of the first places I went was Oklahoma City, and that place is literally like 6 years behind the rest of the country. Wow. Like what was getting tattooed, what people were wearing, what they were talking about. It was very interesting. And that was my first intersection into the fact that the middle of the country is much different than the sides of the country.
Yeah.
I think I get asked to do that a lot because of the region I live in, but my flash is doing really, really well in the Midwest and on the East Coast. So I think that things are very cyclical in tattooing. We'll go through months where we're all tattooing a certain kind of flower. We just keep getting asked for a certain kind of flower. Last week at the shop, 3 different people got octopus tattoos, and for a month it was a bunch of octopuses, and then this week we all noticed that we're drawing big chrysanthemums. It's very cyclical. It goes in cycles. It's interesting to watch what happens.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we're going through this cycle right now where a bunch of stuff that was really popular in the 90s when I first started working in tattoo shops is coming back into vogue, and I'm a little confused by it, but it's cool. I'll go with it.
Yeah. Do you think eventually in the future they could train to do tattoos with VR?
I don't know. There's so many idiosyncrasies to the skin that you don't actually understand until you get in and start working with it, that changes from person to person. That's where something where VR or automation I think would fail, because all of those things rely on the parameters being the same each time.
Yeah.
And when you're tattooing a human being, the parameters are never going to be the same each time. One day to the next, the same human can have
1 hour to the next.
yeah, they can have a different reaction. They can get antsy. You can see them, and 2 months later they come back and maybe it's winter and they don't moisturize, so now their skin's really dry.
Yeah.
And all of these things are factors that I don't see being able to be automated into.
Have you ever had a client come in and they sat down, they wanted the tattoo, you maybe started an hour in or something, and then they were like, I can't do this anymore or something?
I have never actually had anybody quit before the outline was over, which is awesome. Knock on wood. As long as you get the outline done, you can always come back in and finish the tattoo later.
How long does a tattoo usually take to get done? Is there times when it's weeks, days, or just one day or a couple hours?
It all depends on the size. I generally work in 2 to 4 hour blocks. That's what I like to do the best. So
then for some max clients per day, what would be?
I generally try not to take more than 3 clients. If I have large clients, no more than 3. If I'm doing smaller ones, I'll take more. But, I generally try to limit to 5 or 6. It just depends. When we go to conventions, we'll tattoo 9 or 10 people in a day.
Do you typically finish a piece, or will you ever just have someone finish it off because you have to go somewhere or something?
No, I mean, generally it's when somebody comes in and they have a consultation.
Yeah.
At that point whether you're going to have multiple sessions for your tattoo. So you set it up and book it that way.
Okay.
You'll even go through and book all 4 appointments or all 3 appointments that you need, just so you know where you stand with the client.
Most of the customers are nice?
Most of the customers are nice. Yes, they are.
Is it ever a really rude customer and you're just like, I want this tattoo done so I could be out of here?
That is another thing that has definitely been an interesting shift in the tattoo industry. Is when I started, it was very much a gruff, heavily male dominated, we don't have to take your shit industry, and over the past couple of years, it has morphed into more of a customer-friendly, you know,
Right.
market. But I've also seen, you know, this time that we live in, people are so ready for instantaneous gratification, and that doesn't always work with tattooing. That's not the way things go. I had a client come in yesterday that had picked a design off the internet. She wanted to get tattooed. I was really excited about it.
Yeah.
She got there and it didn't fit her body. So I said, you know, I could probably edit this and change it and we could make it work. But instead, I would like to take the night and redraw it. I want to take a picture of your body so that it fits you.
Yeah.
And she was excited and really stoked. And I'm excited to go to work and tattoo her later because it's just going to be a much better experience for both of us.
Definitely. Ever get flagged on Instagram for these posts? I don't think so, right? But
No, we always, you know, out of courtesy to our clients, we always make sure that there's nothing inappropriate up there. It's kind of messed up because the images of ladies generally get way more likes than anything else,
yeah, that's
you
the way
know.
the internet works.
It's how the internet works. You try not to get frustrated by it. You do something that you're really excited about and you put it up there and you get like 22 likes. And you post something, you know, an underboob tattoo and you get 300. And you're like, okay, cool, whatever. It's the way the world works.
Yeah.
Can't be mad about it.
As for when you reminded me of something when the male-dominated tattoo industry, I used to play this game on Nintendo called Skate or Die, and there was this big guy in that. Have you ever played that game? That's
a long
awesome.
time ago.
Were you good at it?
No.
It's so hard, that game.
I'm not great at video games in general.
Yeah. Going back to Star Wars now, what do you think is going to happen in Star Wars 9 now that Leia's not around? How are they going to do this? Digitize?
Idea. No, Catherine Bigelow came out and said that they're not going to do any digital recreation of her. They have some footage from that movie and some footage that they had started filming, and I guess they have a way to put it together. But I don't know. I hope they do a good job.
Yeah.
She has been one of my favorite characters since I was a very small child, so I really hope they do it justice in the end.
Nice. Yeah. And you said one of your kids does art?
Yeah, my son is very artistic. He thinking about going to school to be an animator. He's just trying out some different things. Like I said, he graduates this summer, so we're trying to figure out what comes next.
Yeah, animator. That would be great.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Disney sure has a huge hold on everything, so I don't think he'll have any problem finding a job.
Right. Well, and they also have a really huge scene for video game animation in Seattle. Mm-hmm. One of the schools he's looking at is up north of Seattle.
Is he into video games?
Yes.
Too much?
He talks about it a lot.
Yeah. Probably listens to podcasts about video games.
Him and my daughter both do. That is one of the things that still gets me when I go in to talk to them and they're watching somebody else playing video games. They're watching it happen. His sister loves to sit and watch him play video games, and I'm just like, that's not my childhood. You were playing video games. You weren't watching people watch them. And
like on YouTube, they make millions.
They do. Or Switch, what's it called?
Twitch.
Yeah, I tattooed somebody the other day that's how they make all their money is playing video games on Twitch. Just some girl. I don't remember.
Yeah, it could be anybody.
It could be anybody. There's thousands of people doing it, and I am flabbergasted that. But power to them, man.
Have you ever played an instrument?
No, I don't know how to do that. I'm super tone deaf.
Are you into scary movies?
No, I don't like being scared.
Comedies mostly?
I watch a lot of comedies. I really like sci-fi and fantasy.
So you're into Doctor Who?
Yeah, I've watched. I haven't watched the last 2 seasons. I always have a problem when they get a new doctor. It takes me a while to like be okay and just accept it and start watching the new ones.
It's true.
And I just haven't made time for the new one. But there's a female doctor now, so I'm really interested in getting caught up, or at least starting her season. I'd like to see it. What's
been your favorite doctor so far?
I loved David Tennant. Isn't that his name?
Yes. 10th Doctor.
Yes. He was my absolute favorite. The story with him and Rose and River Song. It was great. It was my first real introduction into Doctor Who because I
Very-
started
Very complex story right
a
there.
very complex story. I was really engaged in it. I enjoyed it tremendously. And then I had a really hard time when the new Doctor came out. I was just like, Matt Smith. I was like, I don't like this guy. And then after a season or two, I was again really engaged with the characters. I loved the couple that he picked up that he took on as his companions and their storyline. Yeah.
What about Clara's ending? That was kind of tragic.
It was a little tragic. I don't even know if I remember how it ended.
She was frozen in time.
That's right.
With me. And we just spoiled everything, so sorry, guys. Would you ever fly in like one of those small passenger planes?
I have before. A really good friend of mine, James, is a pilot.
Is it crazier because you can basically look out the window and see everything look below, kind
It
of?
was a really intense experience. So most of those planes are older.
Yeah.
They're from like the 80s. I mean, look at the consoles. It's like being in a really old car, except you go up in the sky.
It must be scarier because it looks older.
It was a little terrifying, but my friend's a really level-headed pilot, and he took great care of us. And my daughter's been up more than I have. She knows all the the walkthrough for what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. It's really amazing what everything looks like from up there.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to go really close to things because you're in a smaller plane.
Nice. And you were at the pumpkin patch at Solvay Island recently?
We do that every year. We have done it since my son was small.
Mm-hmm.
Very small. It's a family tradition.
Nice. Have you ever gone farther down that beach? The Collins Beach?
No, I've never been to Collins Beach before.
Oh, that's pretty cool. How often are you doing feet tattoos?
Not as much as I used to.
Why is that, you
I
think?
have no idea. Right now, the sternum area is really popular.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of thigh pieces. I don't know. We just don't do that many anymore.
What about the side where like the rib cage is?
You get a lot of that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like it hot or cold? Which is
I
better?
prefer warm.
Yeah,
I would much rather go on a tropical vacation than a cold vacation.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any ideas of how you want to increase your brand in the future?
Well, it's something that I work on constantly, actually, especially since I bought the shop.
Yeah.
I'm constantly trying to find ways to put us out there in the community and let people know that we're there and that we're a really solid shop. And I do a lot more stuff like this now.
Yeah.
Like getting out there and meeting people and going to events and just really trying to push a strong aesthetic, you know. I don't know. It's a hard question that I grapple with all the time. Me and my manager talk about it probably once every other month. We sit down and have a serious conversation about how it's working, what we can be doing to make it work better.
Yeah. Do you ever listen to any other podcasts?
I have been listening to a podcast called No Regrets, which is about tattooing.
Yeah.
And then I just recently discovered another one called Books Closed that I haven't started, but I've heard really good things about it.
Now, what's the story behind this yellow rose? Was a tattoo? Because I'm interested because I just released an album called Yellow Rose.
It's probably just a drawing I did and posted. It was probably for sale.
Should have made that my album cover. You're into gardening.
Yes.
That's awesome. I'm also into gardening. I have a 200 square foot plot over by Maclay Park.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter asked for a garden like 3 years ago. And we had been running another business. My husband works full time. He has a really awesome job. I work full time.
Yeah.
I have a really awesome job. We used to run a business out of our house on top of all of that with both kids. And about 4 years ago, we stopped. So suddenly we had more free time. And it was about the same time she asked for a garden. So we started with one planter box. And now we have like 6.
Nice.
Yeah. It's been a fun project. And we eat so well in the spring and summer. And so much of it comes from our garden.
You get spoiled now. You can't just get lettuce from the supermarket.
No, tomatoes. I can't buy tomatoes from the grocery
as
store
fresh.
anymore.
And you feel bad when things go bad from the supermarket. From your garden, you just pick it and eat it.
Yeah. No, I love having a garden. I don't get to do as much in the garden as I was like. It messes with my allergies pretty bad. I generally tend to tending the tomatoes and dealing with all the succulents because those don't seem to bother me. But my husband and my daughter put a ton of work out there in the spring and summer.
Said you grew strawberries. Now, most people take a transplant and put it in there. Have you ever tried growing from seed, though?
From a strawberry? No. We had
Yes, I've-
3 different strawberry patches, but they all came from transplants, not from seeds.
Where do you get them from?
We do a lot of shopping at Portland Nursery.
Yeah.
Oh, we found this amazing place out in Gresham that's a small family-owned nursery, and we do a lot of business with them, but I cannot think of the name of them right now.
Portland Nursery?
Portland Nursery is where we go the most often.
Yeah.
They have the biggest selection, and you can get anything there, and they're really friendly.
What kind of soil do you like to use?
I have no idea.
Like the natural earthworm casting kind? Or...
Probably. That's not my department.
Yeah.
I know that last year we went to the Portland Nursery, and when I wasn't paying attention, my husband loaded a ton of manure into my car. I was like, wait, why?
Compost?
Yeah, I was like, why do we have to put manure in my
In the
car?
back seat?
No, I have a minivan, so it was like in the back, but I was so annoyed.
Did it smell after that?
No, it came out really quickly. It was all bagged, it's just for mixing into your soil, but I was just like, no.
What have you grown from seed?
All of our peppers and green beans, and they'd set up a little mini greenhouse inside the house every year. We'll be doing it anytime now. Did we get tomatoes? I think it was tomatoes, peppers, onions, and green beans that we brought all from seed last year.
Wow. Nice.
We have really good soil. It's helpful.
What do you think of the tomato plant over there on the window?
I love that you have plants in a small apartment. I think it makes it look so much nicer and cozier.
Yeah, and the sun just comes in that window all the time, so why not,
Yeah, no, for sure.
Ever since I started growing lettuce last year, it was hard to buy lettuce from the supermarket. I just love the fact that I could grow it, cut it off, eat it, and it's always fresh.
It's pretty great.
Do you plan on dyeing your hair again anytime soon?
I don't think so. My hair is going gray, and everybody keeps giving me fantastic compliments about it. I have these 2 really great streaks that go from here back, and so I'm kind of just letting it go. Also, my barber moved out of town, my hairstylist, and I just really haven't connected with anybody else yet, so whatever.
What inspired the gingerbread mans I saw on Instagram, the gingerbread man?
Somebody bought us that kit for Christmas, and so, of course, we really love the holidays at my house. Not so much the corporate or religious side of it, but spending time with your family and doing fun things like making gingerbread cookies. We're really into that kind of stuff. That's why we go to Sovi's Island every year. We go out into the wilderness and cut our tree down every year for Christmas. We're not, like I said, very religious at all. We're not affiliated with anything, but we're a pretty strong family unit. We want our kids to have like good solid memories of good times, so that's what we focus on, and we make a big deal out of it. We also really love Halloween. We decorate. We go all out for decorating for Halloween and Christmas.
Nice. So Halloween over Christmas?
Yeah, Halloween over Christmas. We got married over Halloween.
The marriage, how'd you do the ceremony if it was non-religious?
Actually, everybody was in costume.
Nice.
So that was super fun. Yeah. The whole wedding party and everybody that came to the wedding, except for like 10 people, were in full costume.
You were wearing a costume?
Yeah.
What was the costume?
I had on a wedding dress, but it had a bunch of filigree all over it. It was black and white. And then we had sugar skull makeup on. Everybody in the bridal party had sugar skull makeup on.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
And what was your husband's costume?
He was wearing a mariachi outfit. It was pretty great.
When was this?
It was in 2007.
So what were the kids wearing?
Jaden was Jack the Pumpkin King, and Beta just had a dress on. She was like this big.
Nice. Are you atheist, or would you say maybe you're rather agnostic?
I just really, religion is not something that was ever a huge part of my life, and I don't have bad feelings about it, but I see a lot of negative things happen in context with it. I'm more about doing the right thing and believing in others and understanding that what you put into the world comes back to you tenfold. So do good things, and the rest of it we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
That's kind of my philosophy, We're all in this together, so treat each other nice and try and do the best you can, and it'll all work itself out in the end.
When I look back on like how religion came about, to me it just seems obvious that they were just trying to keep the serfs in line and the peasants, and now we know better.
Right. Now we know better. You know, a lot of great things do happen through like charity and stuff, but there's so many. I have so many friends that have been ostracized from their families because of religion, and having children of my own, I don't understand that. And so
Yeah.
it kind of gives me a negative taste in my mouth. You know, I can't ever see picking something that I believe in over the happiness and well-being of my children.
Yeah.
It makes zero sense to me. So
Were your parents religious at all?
no, not really. We went to church all the time, but that was more so. I was raised by my grandparents.
Were they?
And no, they didn't go with us. They literally dropped us off.
Wow.
It was,
Why were you dropped off at church?
I think maybe because she wanted us out of the house while she changed the sheets
So
and
it's like a
washed the
babysitting
windows.
thing?
And
That's weird that you were exposed to religion, yet none of your family was religious.
participated.
Yeah.
It was a really weird.
It's almost an unfair thing that happened to you.
And it was really, when we would talk about it later in life, like, why did you make us go to church?
Yeah.
Or, we were never made to go to church. We were encouraged to go to church. She would help us find people that went to churches, and we could go to that church for a while and see if we liked it. And if we didn't, we could go to this church for a little while and see if we liked it. But, when I asked her about it years later, she said, I wanted you guys to believe in God so that when I die, I can see my parents again.
Wow.
And I was like, that is some logic.
Yeah. That's hopeful thinking.
Right?
Yeah.
But, if that's what she believes and that makes her happy, then let her have it.
Yeah. Was it a Catholic church?
We went to Catholic church, a Mormon church, a Protestant
Wow.
church, a Methodist church.
At least you explored all the avenues, except Jewish.
There wasn't a synagogue in town back then.
I don't think
I
there's
don't
a
think.
strong Jewish community here, is there?
No. I mean, the town I grew up in, it had like 22,000 people in it when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I think it's less than 30. It's like 32,000 people now. It's not a very big community, and it's in Arizona, which means it's very landlocked and very white and not very diverse and very Republican. So it was a very boxy place to grow up.
Were you ostracized because you weren't religious? Or?
No, it was more so because I didn't fit the mold of the standard, like, small town kid,
Yeah. Were you into creative writing growing up?
Oh, absolutely. I loved creative writing. Was one of my favorite classes.
Did you have a really sweet teacher like I did?
Yeah, I had some really fantastic teacher. I had a really amazing teacher in 6th grade and then a really amazing teacher in 8th grade. They were super, like, be creative, find your inner voice.
Those teachers are important for artists, I
They're
think.
so important. They
Because-
really, really help you believe in yourself in a way that you're not told to when you have like a traditional setting or family,
Yeah.
My family was very encouraging me to do art, but like I said, it was very much like, this is a hobby. You don't do this as a job. You still have to find a job. You still have to support yourself. This isn't something you can do full time.
Yeah. Plus, until the 6th grade, you're taking these regimented academic classes, and then finally, you get to do something fun and artistic.
Exactly.
Well, I would love to thank you for coming in today.
Fantastic. I had a good time.
Yeah, me too. And maybe we'll see where the business goes in a year or so.
Yeah,
Have you back on.
that'd be fantastic.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
In a dream that's fading. Everything seems strange and cold in this life. It's not what it seems. It's crazy. I have become the stranger. Tell me how long I've been waiting. Why did I try to change her? Always constantly placating. Glass breaks, I don't even hear it. It shatters across the floor. Feel the flames burn inside me. It's so deep. Now that I finally felt it, I realize waiting for so long, I've been a stranger. I have become the stranger. change her. Always constantly placating. I have become the stranger. Tell me how long I've been waiting. Why did I try to change her? Always constantly placating.